SGF, NSA ministers hold emergency meeting over planned protests. Federal government resumes trial of over 300 suspects arrested in connection with terrorism. Families mourn death of children killed in Rigachikun flood in Kaduna State. On the foreign scene, such operation continues as Ethiopia landslides death toll hits 229. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I am Muhammad Kudu Abubakar. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF, George Akume, and the National Security Advisor, NSA, Nuhu Ribadu, on Wednesday met with ministers over a planned nationwide protest against economic hardship by youths. The meeting was convened behind closed doors and had more than 40 ministers in President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's cabinet in attendance. Information Minister Mohammed Idris, who briefed the media after the meeting, pleaded with the Nigerians to give the government more time to address the country's economic challenges. Mohammed Idris said there is no need for the planned protest and assured youths that the government has been engaging all concerned to resolve the issues in the interest of the country. Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Tuesday appealed to Nigerians to shelve the planned End Bad Governance protest slated for August. The protest against economic hardship, which is gaining traction on the social media, has been scheduled to be held across all states of the Federation, as well as the Federal Capital Territory. The organizers of the protest have, however, remained faceless. Prices of food and basic commodities have been gone through the roof in the last months, and Nigerians battle one of the country's worst inflation and economic crisis sparked by the government's twin policies of petrol subsidy removal and unification of the foreign exchange windows. The Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, has said it is not the organizer of the planned nationwide hunger protest slated for August the 1st. The union was responding to reports making the rounds that it had pulled out of a planned national protest organized by the youths. A statement on Wednesday signed by the NLC president, Comrade Joe Ajero, further advised the federal government and the sub-national governments to listen to the cries of the hungry Nigerian people and address the economic crisis. The statement further said that the Nigeria Labour Congress stands in solidarity with the Nigerian people in these very trying and excruciating times. It advised that it will be counterproductive for the government to meet the widespread anger in the land with brute force. The planned protest comes at a time when the newly released report by the National Bureau of Statistics indicated a rise in prices of beans, tomatoes, Irish potatoes, gari, yam, and other food items in June 2024. The NBS few days ago in another report said headline inflation for June increased to 34.19% relative to the May 2024 headline inflation rate, which was 33.95%. Joining us via Zoom is MacDonald Ekemeze, Program and Communications Manager, Center for Transparency Advocacy. Welcome to Trust News Update, MacDonald.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Nigerians.
In light of the recent meetings between the SGF, George Akume, NSA, Nuhu Ribadu, and the ministers, how effective do you think the government's appeal for more time will be in addressing the economic challenges faced by Nigerians, especially the youths?
Well, okay, thank you. The protests and the likes is not new to Nigeria, and is not new among Nigerians. It's also not new
It appears Kemezi's
the young
networking.
persons
Okay.
in history, the Ali Moscow protest instigated by students. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Just go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it was instigated by Nigerian students who are young persons. Now, the economic hardship in Nigeria is not new, but I must tell you, it's really excruciating. But again, no matter what, how excruciating it is, protests are legitimate means of, trying to make things go well. But, when you lose control of protests, it can become violent. So I'm sure that's where the government is coming from, and asking for patience, especially from young persons, to see that things go on well. So it's not a bad move by government to ask for people to be a little patient for them. But I also think that government should actually also move faster, and so that people don't also lose the patience, so that they also don't lose the goodwill, that Nigerians have given them up to this moment. Because listening through the news when you are going through the rising cost of beans, the rising cost of gari, and these are some of the cheapest things that people staple food for Nigerians. Yeah, so it is important at this juncture that government listens. Yeah, okay.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to ask that, or rather add that, given the rise in prices and economic hardship, do you think this plea will resonate with the public, or is it a protest likely to proceed as planned?
Well, I might not know if the protest will proceed as planned, but again, when somebody is hungry and you keep on pleading, it becomes challenging. A hungry man is an angry man. So for how long will you continue to plead? We Nigerians, and what we need to see is that there are positive things that government is doing to ameliorate the hardship that people are going through. Truly, people are going through a lot of hardship. So it is important that government, let us see what government is doing and not what they want to do. I mean, it's long overdue for 1 year. So the government should actually expedite action in bringing palliatives, in bringing policies, in bringing measures that will mitigate the sufferings that people are going through, especially economic sufferings that people are going through.
Yeah, as a civil society expert, the Nigeria Labour Congress has clarified that it is not organizing the planned protest, but stands in solidarity with the Nigerian people. How significant is the NLC stance in the broader context of this protest, and what impact might it have on the government's response?
NLC, what they have done is actually, I would say that's a tactical withdrawal. Because if NLC is in fact just giving support, they would have also mobilized members to join. So in that light, what it says is that, okay, well, if you want to go ahead, fine. But I also see it, some people may also see it as a betrayal from NLC, because it appears that governments increased the minimum wage, and now NLC have gotten what they wanted. Now they are staying at the background and saying, you can go ahead if you want to go ahead. So who is going to go ahead and protest if NLC tacitly is withdrawing from that protest, no matter how they view it? So what this also means is that NLC somehow maybe is also trying to tell government, thank you for increasing minimum wage. So some citizens will not see it in that light. Some will also see it in that light that is more or less maybe a betrayal of trust among citizens who are angling to go on protests. But I also say that protest is a legitimate means, but when it gets violence, and in this case, may not be like NSAS that started as a peaceful protest and later become violent. So that's where I'm skeptical about it, and I would not want that protests to go on in that manner, because you may never know what it turns out to be, because hoodlums may eventually take over, and then it becomes something else. Maybe it will not end like the NSAS protest. So that's not what I pray for. That's not what I want. But if a situation where citizens can actually just perhaps do a peaceful march and say, look, we have had promises too long, please do something tangible. Because people are dying, people are hungry, then that's okay. But where there is no guarantee, in fact, you can actually not guarantee a protest because hoodlums might take over and it turns out to become very violent, then all of us will begin to regret it. Infrastructure will be destroyed, lives will be lost, and that is not what we pray for in this moment in Nigeria.
Well, as someone who monitors the society, being a civil society person, what advice will you give the security institutions? Because we have already said that the protest, leadership of the protest is faceless. Now the NSA is saying they are only in solidarity. How do you think this will, if you like, come out in the long run, in the sense that will it determine the success or failure of the protest?
Okay, yes. What I advise is security. I mean, when I was a student, I was part of several protests, including the June 12th, 1993 protest. I was then a student of the University of Calabar. We were all part of it. What I advise is security is, so long as the protests are peaceful, you do not need to use force. It is a legitimate right anywhere in the world. People can protest, but let it not be violent. And sometimes it's security that provokes violence when they start unnecessarily begin to molest protesters who are not violent. So the security should be in their utmost best professionally without provoking citizens into violence. Whereas also citizens should also conduct themselves peacefully while they are marching. But let's not forget that the people in government today, especially Mr. President, His Excellency Ahmed Bola Tinubu, was also a father of protests. He led many protests in Nigeria, funded many protests in Nigeria. So he knows where to puncture. He knows what we are planning and even how to mitigate it. So this is not something new. And I also think that if Mr. President himself was also a leader of protest in many instances, he should also not ask people not to protest, or he should not perhaps order security to use force on protesters.
And Communications Manager, Center for Transparency Advocacy. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you so much for having me.
Meanwhile, more voices continue to sue for caution with the proposed hunger protest just about a week away. Visitors to the president on Wednesday joined their voices to the president's plea for patience rather than a descent to anarchy. Kende Amodu has the report.
Those speaking against the protests are obviously the president's allies who will support him no matter what. But there is some glimmer of common sense in their explanations.
Meaning Nigerians, citizens of this country who are making sacrifices. Some of us have paid the supreme price for the existence of this country. We should guide our country very jealously. I think it is a wrong time for anybody to do any protest, because the implication of doing that, if care is not taken, is that it may be hijacked, like the NSA experience, where criminals now hijacked and innocently conceived agitation by young Nigerians. So this is another kind of temptation that I think too, that those behind the protest, because they have not been able to come out openly to say they are behind it, there is something that is a motive that is yet to be unraveled.
The president is worried that there are political undertones in the protest, which could lead to violence. Former spokesman for the Atiku presidential campaign aligns with this line of thought. He apparently does not agree with his former principal, who is supporting the protests.
I will tell him that the reason why we think that the protest is unnecessary is because this protest, based on the foundation that it is building in the social media, where people say, burn the house, destroy this, I will kill this person and the rest, and based on intelligence, it is built to be violent. And I will tell him that Section 45 of the Constitution of Nigeria says nothing will preclude Section 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, those rights that are outlined. He said nothing will stop or invalidate any law that is made that is reasonably justified in a democratic society, meaning that your right to protest, if it's going to turn violent, will not preclude or will not invalidate any law that can be made to abridge that right in the interest of, if you look at Section 46, in the interest of public safety, protection of the life of others, and national security.
Most of those that grace the corridors of the presidential villa would be expected to support the president's position on the protest, but the calls for caution should not be taken lightly. From State House Abuja, Kehinde Amudu, Trust TV News.
The federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Education, has announced a reduction in allowances of foreign scholars who are currently stranded in Russia, Morocco, and Algeria, among others, by 12.7%. The ministry attributed the development to economic crisis. Nigerian students studying in Russia, Morocco, Algeria, China, Hungary, and other countries on the federal government scholarship had lamented their unpaid stipends for 8 months running. The students are studying under the federal government's bilateral educational agreement scholarship. The BEA scholarship is for the purpose of education exchange between Nigeria and the partnering countries. The House of Representatives has urged the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, and distribution companies, DISCOs, to immediately revert to the old electricity tariff for Band A customers, following the adoption of a report by the House Committee on Power. The House recommended a reversal of the recent tariff hike, citing the unaffordability of the new rate for Nigerians. The Committee on Power's chairman, Victor Nwokolo, presented the report highlighting the unaffordability of the new tariff for Nigerians.
The report has been fully widely circulated among members. The findings of the joint committees is that the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission should reverse to the status quo as earlier contained in the motion of the House when it was considered, and that within 60 days they should comply with the provisions of Section 116 2D 3B of the Electricity Act, that an independent team of experts to be contracted by joint committees to carry out forensic investigation of what should be the actual cost of electricity tariff. 3, that all electricity distribution companies should reverse to the old tariff pending the resolution of the matter by the House.
The federal government says it will resume mass trial of more than 300 suspects arrested in connection with terrorism in the country, saying the decision is in pursuance of its commitment to promoting social justice. Hundreds of suspects allegedly sponsoring terrorism and perpetrating the act were arrested by various joint security forces across different theaters of operations in the country. No fewer than 5 judges of different federal high courts are currently handling trial of the suspects under the supervision of the National Counter-Terrorism Center and the Office of the National Security Advisor. Disclosing the resumption of the trial to journalists in Abuja on Wednesday, the head of strategic communications in the center, Abu Michael, said before now, more than 800 case files had been reviewed and charges had been drafted for efficient prosecution. Troops of headquarters of 6th Brigade, Nigerian Army, Sector 3 Operation Wheel Stroke, in conjunction with other security agencies, have dismantled a criminal syndicate, apprehended 10 suspects, and recovered an AK-47 rifle and 33 rounds of ammunition in multiple operations. Captain Oni Olobundunde, the Acting Assistant Director, Army Public Relations, revealed this in a press statement in Jalingo, the Taraba state capital. He noted that the operations were conducted with precision and professionalism, and it took place in the early hours of the 22nd of July 2024 at Galeri and Kwando villages of Arok Ola and Bali local government areas after a tip-off from a credible source. The swift and coordinated response of the 6th Brigade troops led to the successful arrest of 2 suspects named Ali Ibrahim, aka Yellow, and Weti Alhaji Ibrahim. He said items recovered from the suspects include an AK-47 rifle and 3 rounds of 7.62mm special ammunition. According to Captain Olobundunde, the suspects confessed to have worked with a known terrorist leader named Kadogo, who operates around Bangalala and Company Zurak in Plateau State. A 25-year-old Alamin lost his life after a heavy downpour that resulted to flash floods at Rigachikon community in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. The young Alamin's death, about a month to his wedding, has left his parents devastated. Trust TV's Bello Musa, who visited the community, reports that Alamin died along with his friend Abdul Mumin Rufai, who tried to save him from drowning.
That has been the mood of Aisha Abubakar, a mother to Al-Amin, who died as a result of flood in front of their family residence. According to them, whenever there is heavy downpour, water usually submerged the area, threatening the lives of children in the community.
Whenever rain falls, water would submerge this place and children normally swim in the water, but I don't allow my children to enter the water. Unfortunately, when he fell into the gutter, I didn't even know it was my son. I only saw people shouting for help. One of my friends came crying. I asked her what happened. She couldn't talk, but crying. I asked her what happened. She said, Al-Amin. Before I knew it, people started crying in my house. Then I fainted.
Al-Amin died a month to his wedding, leaving his fiancée, parents, and loved ones devastated.
We have finished all his marriage arrangements. He left me with the things we bought for the wedding. He was an obedient boy. If he offends me, he would be on his knees, begging me to forgive him. He was very patient.
We were all shocked. Everybody rushed. Both the relatives, friends around her house.
She neither say her name nor speak to the camera. Al-Amin's fiancée could not hold her tears. Due to the excessive rain, local drivers and rescue team could not discover his body till the next day. The level of water in the river was much, so we couldn't find his body till the next day.
Then we reached the place. 3 of us who picked the dead body under this big stone. You may find out that there was nylon that blocked his leg. You not even realize that there is human being in the place.
With the erosion encroachment, the community are calling on government to come to their aid.
It needs the attention of government to look at how the stream it is. It's very bad, and we have a lot of small children from 3, 4 above 5, 10 years.
To construct good road for the water. So if they did as exactly like this, it will bring development and will stop losing lives in the place.
Because the improper solid waste disposal is a major cause of flooding, and it affects our public health, it pollutes the environment, and we're trying to make people aware that flooding is actually caused by human interference. It's one of the major causes, human interference.
This is the family residence of Abdul Mumin Rufai, who lost his life while trying to save Alamin from drowning. Family members and sympathizers are here praying for the repose of his soul. Bella Musa, Trust TV News Kaduna.
This is News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, economic hardship forced children to quit school, take up menial jobs to survive. More news when we return. Do stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Hour on Trust TV. Let's take a look at our top stories again. SGF, NSA ministers hold emergency meeting over planned protest. And the federal government resumes trial of over 300 suspects arrested in connection with terrorism. Moving on now, according to the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, Nigeria's 18.3 million out-of-school children is the highest globally. The report said only 63% of the primary school-age children regularly attend school, while 84% of children transit to junior secondary education after completing primary school. These numbers cut across all genders at both primary and secondary school levels. In this report, Trust TV's Neil Sampson examined rationale behind these huge statistics.
Nafiu Alaji and Mohammed Abdurazak are of school age, but are instead engaged in menial jobs on the streets at the suburbs of the Federal Capital Territory. They said they're on the streets to fend for themselves as their parents cannot afford to send them to school. I don't have a means of livelihood. How do you expect me to go to school when I can't even eat? The reason why I push wheelbarrow is because I want to feed myself. I was a student before, but I had to quit the school because my parents can't afford my school fees. This is the only way that I can survive. This school administrator said government has a duty to provide free education from primary to secondary school for every Nigerian child.
We need to criminalize child labor in the country such that every age group that are meant to be in school, they are forced to be in school. Then parents that do not take those kind of children to school, we need to be able to arrest them and prosecute them. Access to school, access to education is a very important step towards addressing the issue. And the first is that if you go to so many communities, you'll see, even here in the FCT, the outskirts, you will see so many communities without schools there. It's either they don't have primary school, they don't have secondary school. As a result, the children in those communities, they don't have access to education. And the other part is that even the transportation system, some may have schools in maybe 2-3 communities. After, there is no means to convey the children from that community to the school where they are expected to continue their education.
Lack of education deprives children the opportunity to contribute to the development and growth of their communities.
In a significant move to boost agricultural productivity and ensure food security, Jigawa State Government has initiated the distribution and sales of fertilizers to farmers for the 2024 rainy season. The official flag-off ceremony took place today, marking a critical step in supporting local farmers and enhancing agricultural outputs. The report.
Farmers in Jigawa State will be able to purchase fertilizer at a heavily subsidized rate of 28,000 naira per bag. This subsidy reduces the cost by 12,000 naira than the market price of 40,000 naira per bag, making it more accessible for small-scale farmers and promoting increased agricultural activities in the region. In addition to the state government's efforts, the federal government has contributed significantly by providing 80 trucks of fertilizer free of charge to the state. This generous allocation aims to further support the agricultural sector, helping farmers increase crop yields and contributing to the overarching goal of national food security. Governor Umar Namadi, who presided over the flag-off ceremony, emphasized the importance of its initiative for the state's economy and the livelihoods of its farmers.
Let me categorically warn that any participation of middlemen to deliberately jack up the price will not be tolerated and will be considered as an act of sabotage. We have therefore instructed all the appropriate agencies to be vigilant and promptly report or take action on any sharp practices meant to sabotage our effort to support the multitude of small farmers in the state. The committee is expected to do as follows. 1. Ensure the commodity reaches the practicing farmers. 2. Ensure effective supervision that the fertilizer do not move outside Jigawa State. Report action of middlemen to security agencies and do any other measures or take any other measures that will improve the conduct of the exercise. To launch the sales and distribution of NPK fertilizers at a subsidized price of 28,000 naira per bag by just.
Farmers expressed their gratitude for the support, stating the subsidy on fertilizer will significantly alleviate their financial burdens and enable them to cultivate more farmland. The Jigawa State government's proactive measures and the federal government support underscores a collaborative effort to strengthen Nigeria's agricultural sector, ensuring sustainable food production and economic growth for the nation.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has welcomed former Senate President Ayim Pius Ayim to the fold of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Senator Ayim, who was also former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, served under former President Goodluck Jonathan. Kende Amodu has the report.
It is a season of political realignment starting much earlier than the party transfer season. Senator Ayim, who recently defected from the People's Democratic Party to the APC, is welcomed into the party by President Tinubu, who is visibly delighted. The former SGF is presented to the president by a delegation led by Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma and Ebonyi State Governor Francis Nwifuru. This is obviously the defection of a big fish.
Somebody like Pius is not a pushover. He's not somebody that you can say because of money joining APC, or that he's hungry, or that he's looking for a job like he said. So it's based on the disposition of Mr. President as a leader of the party in our great nation, Nigeria, and the disposition of the governor as a leader of the party in the state, and our own Governor General in Southeast, the leader of the Southeast Governors Forum, Senator Hope, and that is what that makes a lot of them to join it.
We are excited about it as a zone. We are also excited about it as a nation, and the president, being the leader of the party, is also excited about it. He knows his pedigree, he knows his capacity, he knows that once he believes in a cause, he goes all out for it. So I think it's a very big plus, politically speaking, to our party, to the government of the country under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR.
The former Senate president says he is not looking for work, but wants to align with the drive to move the country forward.
Necessarily, contributing quota does not necessarily mean to work, but to engender a conducive atmosphere for progress. I'm not looking for work, but there is need that, given the challenges the country is facing today, that we all need to put all the hands on deck to make the country move forward.
It remains to be seen how much impact Senator Ayim will make on the fortunes of the APC, not only in Ebonyi State, but nationwide. From State House Abuja, Kende Amodu, Trust TV News.
After many years of wearing the toga of invisibility, the overall head of the Mushin Lagos drug cartel, 57-year-old Suleiman Jimo, popularly known as Temo, has been arrested by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA. He was arrested at his enclave after an initial resistance from him and his horde of hoodlums. Authorities revealed that in the last 2 years, the NDLEA had intercepted large consignments of illicit drugs worth billions of naira owned by Temo, but he has remained largely evasive, while a few encounters with him and his armed gangs in his Mushin enclave have resulted in gunfights. Some of the recent seizures of his shipments include a 14,524.8 kilograms of Ghana Loud, a strong strain of cannabis sativa, smuggled into Lagos from Ghana in 2 trucks, and a J5 bus intercepted at Ojuelegba area of Lagos in the early hours of Sunday, the 28th of January, 2024. Others include 2 truckloads of the same substance weighing 8,852 kilograms intercepted at Eleko Beach, Lekki, Lagos in May 2023, and from his enclave in Mushin on Wednesday, 26th of July, 2023. In his reaction to the arrest of Temo, the Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of NDLEA, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, retired, commended the officers and men of the Lagos State Command Special Monitoring Task Force and other formations tasked with the assignment of getting Temo arrested for their resilience, vigilance, and professionalism. He urged them to intensify the heat on all drug cartels wherever they are located. The House of Representatives Committee on FCT has faulted the park and pay arrangement of the Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA. In an interactive session with the Mandate Secretary in charge of Transportation, Secretary Chinedum Elechi, the House Committee on Federal Capital Territory said residents and motorists in the nation's capital are being harassed by those employed to enforce the policy. The chairman of the committee, Mukhtar Betara, demanded details of how the reintroduced park and pay arrangement was established and how remittances are made to the coffers of the FCDA. The committee also questioned the FCDA officials over abandoned motor parks in the nation's capital. In his reaction, the Deputy Director, Traffic Management and the Mandate Secretary, FCTA, Chinedum Elechi, said the policy is regulated and supported by a legal framework and that only designated areas serve as parking zones.
Madam Secretary, for me, let me just ask you a question with the park and pay. The park and pay, I don't know. I used to see your staffs outside Abuja here. When you park, they said pay, you pay. You understand? I don't know who authorized or gave approval for that park and pay. And where do you pay the monies to? The way they operate in Abuja, they harass people on streets. They harass people on streets. I would have advised you people with these concessionaires you are giving, give your VIO. Let them take up this so that the whole revenues will go to FCT.
We have a regulation now guiding it's called 2019 parking regulation. And there's another road traffic regulation amended 2023, which amended the 2023. We had 2020. By who? By the authority now. Let's not. It's a regulation is different from an act. It's not. I'm not talking about an act of parliament.
And so when you use concessionaires for your exercise, there's usually a ratio between the concessionaire and the FCT. So for areas like this where we have concessionaires, there is a percentage. Part of it goes to the concessionaire, 60%, and 40% goes to FCT.
What infrastructure did he provide that you are giving him 60%? Government build roads. Government spent a lot of money, taxpayers' money to build roads. And then you are bringing an auctioneer that is taking 60% of what you are generating from those roads. Even if he builds the road, he should not take that kind of amount of money.
How do we scrutinize or question or interact with you without figures? We are talking about the Nyanya Park here. A lot of money have been expended, and unfortunately nothing to show for it. You don't even know how much was budgeted for it. And here we are, you're telling us you're going back. Even the committee here already know how much that was budgeted for this particular project.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has assented to the bills into law of the Northwest Development Commission Bill and the Southeast Development Commission bills, thereby setting the stage for the establishment of the two interventionist agencies to address development challenges in the Northwest and the Southwest parts of the country, or rather Southeast parts of the country, respectively, following years of insecurity. The Deputy President of the Senate and sponsor of the Northwest Development Commission bill, Senator Jibrin Barrow, disclosed that the presidential assent to the bill during a chat with journalists in Abuja on Tuesday night.
Expressing his happiness on the presidential assent to the bill, the Deputy President of the Senate, in a media chat with journalists, said the commission, when established, would help to drive development across the 7 states in the Northwest Zone.
This is something that, in fact, today is one of the happiest days of my life because I sponsored the bill, and it has been we've been praying that this commission should be established so as to help in developing the Northwest geopolitical zone. We are all aware of the importance of the zone to this country because it is a zone that is in the forefront in the production of food for the teeming population of this country.
The Deputy Senate President Barrow has commended President Tinubu for assenting the Northwest Development Commission bill, which is now an act of the National Assembly.
It's a testimony, it's a demonstration that he's a leader to trust. He's a leader that has love of his people in his heart. And what we need to do is to be patient. Rome was not built in a day. Rome was not built in a day. For someone to do this, you know that person has a leader, the president of the country, to look at the plight of his people.
Similarly, Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Okezie-Kalu, has expressed what he called an extravagant gratitude to President Bola Tinubu for signing the Southeast Development Commission (SEDC) bill into law, thereby approving the creation of the Interventionist Commission. It will be recalled that the bill was sponsored by Kalu and all the lawmakers from the Southeast region in the House of Representatives. The bill sought to establish a commission that will be charged with the responsibility to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damage suffered by the region as a result of the effects of the civil war after 54 years. The commission will as well tackle the ecological problems and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the Southeast states, which include Abia, Imo, Enugu, Anambra, and Ebonyi states.
Agge residents of Bayelsa State have called for a proper cleanup of their environment and payment of adequate compensation to affected residents following the fire incidents that gutted the Britannia U oil rig. The incident resulted in oil spillage and into the waterways. Britannia U Oil, which according to residents is one of the biggest oil servicing company in Bayelsa State, had its offshore rig engulfed in an inferno, causing a major damage in the host community. Trust TV's Friday Ebimobowe Peter reports.
Oil rig is located in Agge community of Ikerema local government area of Bayelsa State within the Nigerian territorial waters of the Atlantic Ocean. At the early hours of Tuesday, residents of Agge community woke up to a raging inferno that caused major damage to the Britannia U oil pipelines, leading to oil spillage into the waterways. The inferno caused panic across the community as residents fears that the fire could extend to their community.
The spill that occurred in Britannia U company, their drill ship, sometime 18th 2024, has affected the people of Kawo Kingdom negatively. That we, the people of Kawo Kingdom, the fishing activities is our livelihood, is our source of income, but we can no longer go to the sea as a result of the spill that occurred. So we are making an appeal to the management of Britannia Company to please come with relief materials to relieve us from this hunger that we are facing. Secondly, they should come and evacuate the spill, which is the black oil that is causing problem in our shoreline. They should come with materials to evacuate it so that we can have our daily activities again.
We are drinking the water, but we cannot drink the water again. Please let the federal government and chair please release materials for us.
The community said their major source of water have been destroyed by the oil spill.
Because of this fire incident, it has caused a lot of problems because there are a lot of spills in our environment among all the coastal communities. We are actually based on fishing and farming. Now, due to this spill, the people are seriously suffering from this.
We are appealing to the federal government and Britain in particular to come to our aid because all our quality lives have been stranded because of spill. We cannot go to the river and catch fish. We cannot go to the farm. All our farm products have been perished. So we are appealing to the federal government and Britain to come and evacuate and give us relief materials.
The Age Community onshore oil rig fire incident is occurring few months after an oil facility operated by the SPDC at Onopa Community Forest exploded, killing aquatic organisms. From Age Community, Friday, Ebimobowe Peter, reporting for Trust TV News.
In business, a newly released data by the National Bureau of Statistics has indicated a rise in prices of beans, tomatoes, Irish potatoes, gari, yam, and other food items in June 2024. According to the NBS report on Selected Food Prices Watch report for June 2024, released in Abuja on Tuesday, the average price of 1 kilogram of brown beans increased by 252.13%. from 651.12 naira recorded in June 2023 to 2,292.76 naira in June 2024. The report also said the average price of 1 kilogram of tomatoes increased by 320.67% on a year-on-year basis from 547.28 naira recorded in June 2023 to 2,302.26 naira in June 2024. The report also added that the average price of Irish potatoes increased by 288.50% on a year-on-year basis from 623.75 naira in June 2023 to 2,423.27 naira in June 2024. On state profile analysis, the report showed that in June 2024, the highest average price of 1 kilogram of brown beans was recorded in Kogi State at 3,006.43 naira, while the lowest was recorded in Adamawa State at 1,336.11 naira. The report further stated that the Abuja recorded the highest average of price of 1 kilogram of tomatoes at 3,992.61 naira, while the lowest was recorded in Kebbi State at 1,200 naira. Let's now join Yusuf Akogu for more in business news.
Welcome to Business News. I am Yusuf Akogu. The federal government has recorded a 29% year-on-year decline in deficit spending to 2.83 trillion deficit in the first quarter of 2024 from 3.99 trillion naira recorded in the same period of last year. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, disclosed this in its statistical bulletin for Q1 2024. Analysis showed a fall in deficit was driven by 20.5% year-on-year rise in revenue and 50.8% year-on-year decline in expenditure. In its macroeconomic outlook for 2024, CBN noted that the fiscal operations of the FGN in 2024 is anticipated to result in a projected deficit of 3.9% of GDP. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, has cautioned the federal government from demarketing local industries. The association also called for caution for major actors, government agencies, and regulators in the oil and gas sector of the economy regarding the federal government and Dangote refinery saga. MAN Director General Shego Ajayi Kadri said government agencies that provide regulatory oversight functions should promote an enabling business environment for local investment to thrive. He said no regulatory agency should cast a shadow over a homegrown investment like the Dangote refinery. According to him, the allegations of the poor quality and monopolistic tendencies leveled against Dangote refinery by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority were all substantiated. NGS closed Wednesday's trading in red as investors await the Zenith Bank proposed rights issue. Let's see how it went down today. NSL Tech lead the losers. They're down 9.43% to close at 48 kobo per share. The RT Briscoe also down 8.22% to close at 67 kobo per share. Of course, UBA also down 4.63% to close at 21 naira and 65 kobo per share. Of course, this has dragged down the market down by 0.13%. Volume of trade 497.842 million shares valued at 8.605 billion naira in a list of 8,412 lead exchanges among investors this Wednesday. Of course, some equities ended on the top trading equities that we call them the market movers. Leading that table is FCMB 133.915 million shares traded. Access Corporation 72.819 million shares. Of course, Zenith Bank 60.060 million shares is also traded. Of course, a banking sector affair, you will say, on the top trading tables today. Of course, some equities ended on the gaining side of the market. International Breweries leading that table there, 10% it gained to close at 4 naira and 7 kobo per share. Of course, Sovereign Insurance also up there, 10% to close at 55 kobo per share. Of course, Deep Cap also ended on the gaining side of the market, 9.80% to close at 56 kobo per share. The close of business this Wednesday. Of course, that's the highlight of stock trading as it went down this Wednesday on the floor of NGS. Let's see the global stock market and exchange rate data for today. Oil price edged higher on Wednesday, but were still close to their lowest level in 6 weeks, with few signs of fuel consumption and surge seen at this stage of the Northern Hemisphere summer. At the London market, Brent crude sells for $81 per barrel. For the pay basket, price drops further to $82 per barrel. And that's business. I am Yusuf Akugu.
On the foreign scene, rescuers aided by drones are continuing a desperate search on Wednesday for possible survivors of the devastating landslides in an isolated area of southern Ethiopia that have killed 229 people and affected thousands more. Humanitarian agencies are also scrambling to rush emergency relief aid to the stricken community. The deadliest such incident recorded in Ethiopia, a country highly vulnerable to climate-related disasters. Local residents have been using shovels and bare hands to dig through the vast mounds of mud to rescue the victims and survivors of the landslides in Kencho Shasha Godzi, a hard-to-access locality in the regional state of South Ethiopia, hundreds of kilometers from the nation's capital, Addis Ababa. So far, 148 men and 81 women are confirmed to have died in the disaster, which struck the remote and mountainous area. The Gopher Zone Communications Affairs Department, which covers the locality, announced on Tuesday. Senat Solomon, head of the communications for the South Ethiopia Regional Government, announced that 8 people had been pulled out from the mud alive and taken to medical facilities for treatment. The number of persons still missing is not known, but Senat said updated tolls may be issued later. We now go for sports with Emmanuel Fashavi.
Technical advisor of Nigerian Premier Football League club side Shooting Stars Gbenga Ogunbote has officially signed a contract extension with the Ibadan-based team. After weeks of talks with the management of the club, the Oracle, as he is fondly called, agreed to renew his contract with the Oluyole Warriors in a deal that will keep him at the club for the next 2 years. The gaffer said after signing, "I am thrilled to confirm that I have penned down a 2-year contract extension as the head coach of Shooting Stars. I am incredibly grateful for the opportunity to continue leading this talented group of players, and I am excited about the future we will build together." Benga Gubote has coached the likes of Enugu Rangers, Lobby Stars, Sunshine Stars of Akure, the Fun Sharks FC of Port Harcourt, and Remo Stars in time past. The Nigerian Premier Football League is due to kick off on August 31st with Enugu Rangers vs Ekanemi Warriors fixture. Nigerian Women's Football League champions Edo Queens have been drawn in Group B of the 2024 WAFU B CAF Women's Champions League qualifiers. The draws, conducted at the CAF headquarters in Cairo, Egypt, pitched Edo Queens in Group B with Hasakas Ladies FC of Ghana, Omini Sports Etincelle of Burkina Faso, and AS Garde Nationale of Niger Republic, while Group A housed host team Inter de Abidjan of Cote d'Ivoire and Novi FC and AS Koza FC. Edo Queens under Moses Aduku will kick off the qualifiers against AS Garde Nationale before battling Hasakas Ladies in their second match, to be followed by Omnisport and Tincelle fixture for the last group game. The winners of the two groups will battle for WAFU B sole ticket in a one-legged playoff. And that is sports. I am Emmanuel Fashimi.
And that concludes News Hour on Trust TV. Do not forget to follow us across all our media platforms and join our YouTube live stream for more news, programs, and documentary. I'm Muhammad Kuda Bakr. Thank you for our work.